I don't even consult with any customers anymore without setting this tool up first. That this tool was born out of all the consulting work we've done and what we see missing in most of the companies that we go to, and what will give you the biggest massive productivity gain in the very beginning before we even start doing anything lean. Feel free to jump in if you have any questions before I get started. I'll give them one more minute.
Well, since I only did most of my defect tracking in the what you call the final stage, which is where they put the doors and the drawers in, and that's
Mhm.
where if there is an error, it just doesn't work. That you had stated previously that that's high dollar value, and I agree. Obviously, everything's been done to it that might have to be redone or remade at that point. And I was kind of guessing on what to put in there as a price. And so I don't have a problem guessing because I don't think it's like super critical. Although at the end of the month, you might say, geez, guys, we had $3,000 worth of defects. Can we do something about that? And here's what I've come up with to do something about that in my SOP or whatever. I'm just kind of asking you what your opinion is.
I know people are going to get very bogged down in the details when it comes to assigning a defect cost because the cost is going to be radically different with a door issue in the door assembly work cell than it is going to be when it's discovered at your control point or when it's discovered at final assembly, right? There is a variance there, but I'm really asking you to think in terms of small dog, medium dog, big dog. Don't get so bogged down in we're just trying to say, do you realize when we have a door defect, here's how impactful it is on average, right? So I know that's going to be a tough one for you guys, but try and think of just in terms of small, medium, large. The downtime is precise. The downtime that affects your control point is exactly what it's costing you at your control point, just in terms of throughput dollars that you're missing, not in terms of the product cost. That's added onto it. That's the defect cost, but the downtime is the system knows your throughput dollar per minute at your control point. So you just tell us how many minutes, and we can tell you precisely what your throughput dollar loss was. So that one's more precise. And I just want people to realize here's how downtime is affecting your control point. I mean, I'm going to go back to if your control point's costing you, $100 a minute or $50 a minute, that adds up really quickly throughout the day. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. So again, I know people are going to get bogged down in the details and say, well, it depends on where this defect was discovered and how bad it was. And we're just rolling this tool out. If we need to get more complicated, I like to keep everything as simple as possible. If there's an enhancement that we need to make that's going to help make this even more powerful, then we're improving the tools every month. So something else might be coming down the pipeline. But I need your feedback using it to tell me here's what we need. Our time. We got to get going. So let's get going over here to the quality tool. This is the main screen, and feel free to interrupt me at any point. The purpose of this tool is that you collect the data. I want you to focus on your top 3 defects because it's impossible to do this. Everybody's going to start focusing on this defect, that's defect. They're going to try and look into all of these and start their discovery phase and start, understanding the root cause. Nothing's getting finished. So I just want you to focus. This is like limiting your work in process on a Kanban board. In order to create velocity across, in that board, in that work board, that Kanban board, we need to limit the work in process. This is exactly what we always do so that we can make sure that people are focusing on something. You don't get to pull another one in until something comes off the board. So that's the same concept here. I have calculated, the system's calculating your top 3 defects, and until something comes off of this board, of this top 3, nothing else should be focused on. As soon as you solve one of these problems, that other one's going to bubble up. So you're not going to run out of defects. We're just saying, here's your priority. Here's your priority. Here's your priority. Now, your priorities are based on if the defect happens at your control point, it gets a higher ranking. So it's going to bubble up to the top. If someone rates it as a high, so they have the option of low, medium, high when they're reporting a defect. We'll go to that in a few minutes. The higher it's ranked, the higher up on the list it goes. If it's a repetitive defect, it gets ranked as a higher level defect as well. So there's lots of things here. If it affects your control point, it's going higher on the list. And how we know your control point, I'm just going to go into your lines real quick. You're going to set up your lines in here. This is your control point. So you can only have one control point. You toggle it on. That's where my control point is right now. If your bottleneck is wandering, or that's a problem, right? All of these tools are telling you have where your problems are. So first thing we need to do is say, here's where my intentional control point is, or here's where my bottleneck is until I can move it and then make it my control point. In this case, I've made sanding my control point. I'm going to say, and quite often it is. I mean, quite often it's your control point in your factory. If you're doing any level of finishing, typically it ends up being in the sanding area or the assembling area. So I've turned it on for sanding. So when I report a defect in sanding, it's going to get ranked higher, and I'm going to calculate the dollar value that your downtime cost you at that control point. I'm not calculating the dollar value for downtime anywhere else in your factory. This is where this directly affects your throughput. So if you're losing an hour at your control point every day, I already know how much your hour of throughput is worth. Let's say it's $1,000, and you lose an hour today. That's $1,000. That's going to come up here as $1,000 because we recorded 60 minutes of downtime. So just so you know, it doesn't matter if you report downtime at your door work cell or at your CNC or in your hidden factory, it's not going to affect this total downtime cost. Because your throughput at your control point is directly related to your capacity.
Now you said, hey, it's sanding. So and let's say that we are talking about cabinet shops. If I have my finishing manager in here right now, I think he's the person that might catch those sanding defects. So is that okay for him to catch it when it comes into his room, or am I missing something?
No, he's gonna report it he can report it at finishing if there's sanding defects at finishing. But if your control point is sanding and he's not reporting them at the sanding work cell, the downtime will not show up. It'll show up at the sanding department. Now, if he takes them back to sanding and says, "Hey, fix these," they're going to report the downtime that it costs them to rework those parts.
Thank you.
Don't get all caught up in making the defect cost precise. We're going to go, this is where we set up our defects. I'm going to add a defect. Let's call it fish eyes. I'm going to say it's a finishing defect. I'm going to say if it's fish eyes, it's pretty costly. I'm going to say I have a $60 value for that. It's active. I want people to be able to report on this. I'm going to make it pink. So it's active. You can see that here. I've assigned a dollar value to it. You can change that at any time. So now I have a new defect. Now I need to create my lines. Where can I report defects? So I already have two lines set up here. I have a stain line and a sanding line. And this is where I say, here's who is allowed to report defects. And here are the defect types they're allowed to report. I want to keep the screen small and easy to use. So I'm going to set up a new one. I'm going to get assembly. I'm sure I have an assembly line here. So I'm going to say final assembly. I'm going to say at final assembly, scratches, knots. I'll put fish eyes in there just for fun. And then I'm going to say there's only this person is allowed to report these defects. So now I have a new line set up, final assembly. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I go to report defects. I have authority to all of the lines. So this is what it will look like. As a team leader, you're going to be able to see all the lines. If you log in as a user and you're not that user that I just gave access, you won't see this here. You're only going to see the lines that you have access to because I don't want it to be too confusing for everybody. Okay. I'm at final assembly. I'm logged in. I'm ready to report a defect. I'm just going to show you how it looks from the user end. This is the operator level. You asked a good question the other day, Tony. You wanted me to put it in the perspective of like, who's filling this out? So I expect after this is all said and done and everybody's trained up, the operator at that work cell is filling this out as they encounter a defect. It should be done right away. I made the screen super simple, so you should not have to struggle with it. So in this case, I'm going to say we had knots. I'm going to say it's remakes. I'm going to say it's high, so low, medium, or high. Because it's a remake and I'm at final assembly, I'm going to say it's high. I had 10 pieces. I had about 20 minutes of downtime while I was, sorting through everything. And I might even put that here, right? Sorting through all products and then report defects. So that is not going to come up here because I haven't solved the problem yet. I've set up my defect. I've set up my line. I've given my employees access to report the defects. Now I'm going to solve a defect. Let's say I fix this read through problem. Everything on this screen, you hover over it to see the details, and then you can drill down from this screen. So if you want to see the details of this one here, you just click on it. That takes you down to the next level. Here is the reported defect. This is the database level. I'm going to say, I want to solve this defect. I've discovered, I'm going to make it resolved. I discovered the root cause. I did the 5 whys. I have my preventive action, whatever it is, you're going to key that in there. You're going to try and close this, but I have this in here to remind you. I'm going to say, wait a second. Did you have to train anybody? Did you update an SOP? Did it require no training or SOP? I'm making this an required field to make you think a little bit harder about your standards. So I just close that defect. So it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Now I only have 2 defects because I don't have enough of my test system. I'm going to say I have nuts, remake, 60 minutes of downtime, 19 pieces, report defects. So now you see that one just bubbled up to the top. So now I have my top 3. As you fix one, it's going to go away and something else is going to bubble up. When you look at your reported defects, you can do this any way you want. I mean, you can look at them from February 1st. You can say filter it by status, by severity, by lines, employees, defect type. You can look at the data any way you want in here. It's very easily filtered, so you just get the data you want. You can export it to Excel if you want, so you can import it into another system. If you look at it at this level, you can see the notes. So this might help you when you're trying to solve the problem. This is the notes from the operator when they keyed it in. So this one here, they said significant tear out, molder needs to be looked at. So they may be able to give you some critical feedback here when it comes to solving these problems. Any questions so far?
I'm kind of confused on who determines how much downtime there is.
The person who reports it, because again, this isn't precision. It could be precise. It could be my line is down, and I can't do anything. That's pretty easy to quantify that downtime. You're basically looking at the clock and going, okay, we've been down for 20 minutes. That's easy for you to key in. If you're slowing down because you're struggling with something, maybe you have a lot of rework and you're over processing, you're going to have to go, you know what? I think that slowed us down by about 10 minutes, but it's the operator, the guy that works there that knows, how the flow should be going. You'll have your productivity timer running as well, especially at your control point. So that's going to help you understand your extra time as well. So we want your slow time as well as your downtime.
So that's once the productivity timer is all set up, that'll tell me.
Yes and no.
Should
It's not
take.
really there for that.
Not for that.
No, it's not there for that, but you'll be able to see that this cycle took an extra 20 minutes. All right, that was about 20 minutes of slowdown, right? Because your takt time is in there.
First enter that downtime, it doesn't matter what that number is really. That's just an estimate.
It's an estimate. I mean, you're getting as close as you can, right? I mean, if you're the operator in that work cell and you say, hey, I say, hey, listen, we didn't meet our throughput numbers today. What happened? You're going to say, oh, I had about an hour of downtime. You already are estimating downtime in your head. You're going to get better at estimating now that we're looking at the data, though. That when you start looking at the data on a daily basis, it forces everyone to start refining their numbers. You're going to learn as you go. Right, you're going to get the one guy who says, "Oh, we suffered an hour of downtime," when every day, when you really don't. It's only 30 minutes, but he's the exaggerator guy. He's got a different sense of time, maybe, but you'll work through that.
Danny will spend an hour in finishing on anything that goes back in there if they sand it down to raw wood. I mean, It's an automatic hour.
And again, they're an hour and a half. Don't worry about being precise in minutes. This is so that we have a gauge. We can look at this right now and say, wow, look at scratches by far is causing, more of a problem with downtime than knots and tear out. It's just, so you can, these are your top 3 to focus on, but I'm going for this one first. And so that the average people, so whoever's causing the defect or not seeing the defect and passing it on to the next workstation,
That's
if
the
they
big one.
if they knew the impact, they wouldn't do that. Today, they're thinking, you know what? Joey in sanding doesn't have a problem fixing these defects. As a matter of fact, he kind of likes it. And he does a really good job at it. So I just send all that stuff to him and he's got time. Well, does he? And we shouldn't be passing it on to him. And this is why it helps everybody understand, wow, here's the cost of quality. It's not even the total cost of quality, but you're probably not seeing it at this level today. So it's going to get you a couple of steps closer. On the dashboard, we have added a graph as well. This graph here is now going to show your downtime that you're recording at your control point every day. So this will be part of your regular dashboard at the bottom that you can see total minutes. You can hover over it, total minutes. You can see what's causing that downtime. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to if a 1 hour of downtime at the control point is worth $1,000, I can tell right there we lost $1,000 yesterday. We lost $2,500 earlier. So you can easily look at that and go, wow, we got a big problem here. From a higher up owner operations level guy has visibility to that data. And again, you click on it and it drills down to the exact issues that were reported. So I can see here, we've recovered setting up lines, setting up defects, reporting defects. Again, this screen depends on who you are. I control that based on the line here. So this line, only one person can sign in and report defects. The stain line, I've got 4 people that can log in and create defects. So that's how we control who can see what. And then here's how we control the defects that are available at each line.
Do you have to set up each line for each department then? Like a CNC department, you do all your lines and then the assembly area, all the lines and then the finishing? Is that how you work to it?
I would set it up based on work cell. You know, if you have a door assembly work cell, there's one work cell and one, you know, interface for them to enter in their defects. If it was an assembly line, I might have, you know, I'm going to set up assembly line, just one assembly line. I might have 2 spots on that assembly line. If it's a really big assembly line, one computer at the beginning and one at the end for them to enter defects. But it's a matter of break it out into the independent work cells and your hidden factory, right? I was just talking about this yesterday. I was working with a metal shop and their hidden factory is slowing down their shop drastically. So we decided to, and their number one problem, I'm sure you can guess in engineering, is interruptions. Questions, interruptions, defects. Not exaggerating, I think we estimated anywhere from 3 to 4 hours a day we could get back if they just cut out their interruptions. So we decided to start tracking that. So we set up a line called engineering and a defect called interruptions. And then they were recording the amount of minutes associated with those interruptions. And then we made that the control point in their factory and boom, it's quite evident. So this would have been hidden factory, interruptions, hidden factory, drawing errors or something, right? So don't forget your hidden factory is a whole other combination of work cells. You might have estimating set up. You might have, sales, estimating, purchasing, maybe there's stockouts and purchasing's either ordering the wrong thing or they're not ordering enough or it's not getting there in time.
So in the case of engineering, then could we have each of them log into their phone and then whenever they get an interruption, they would log that?
Yes, but that's only if that's a real problem for you. If interruptions are not a real issue for you, don't make people record stuff that's not a big deal. I'm a big fan of where your biggest problem is, record detail at a very granular level. Once their interruptions get under control, maybe they're down to a half an hour a day. And if they're happy with that, stop collecting interruption data unless it's big. If it's big, go back and start collecting it again. Leave the defect there for them to use. But, you're going to pick one that you're really focusing on. If it's your top 3 and it's affecting your control point, it's causing downtime and it's repetitive and it's interruptions in engineering, I'm collecting that like it's my job. We're going to solve all those problems, and then that one's going to fall off the list, and it's not going to bubble up to your top 3 because it's a small problem. And I don't want people being forced to collect data that's not really providing a lot of value, right? A lot of systems, we're collecting a tremendous amount of data, but it's not providing the people any value. Be careful at what level you collect data. You have to be able to show everyone, and that's the other important part about this. If we're asking people to collect defect data at their work cells, we need to show them this and say, hey, look, we had that repetitive problem. Here's how it was impacting us, and we just solved it. Here's the root cause. Here's a preventive action. We're pretty sure we're not going to see it again. If we do, we're going to open it up. We've done a lot of work, and here's what we did. And that closes the loop on communication. And now people will start reporting again, because the main feedback I get when I'm on the shop floor with every company I go to is, yeah, we used to complain about that, but we don't even bother anymore because no one's doing anything. Maybe no one's doing anything, but also maybe they are and they're not communicating, and they thought they fixed an issue. But this is really helping you close the loop with everyone in the building so that they know, whoa, wow, we are really making a difference. Your throughput, this is where it's really going to become evident. Your throughput dollars should be going up over time. So if we look at your historical data, we look at your year, your throughput dollars should be going up all the time because you're making improvements and quality is getting better. So you should be able to see it.
Yeah, very good.
You're never going to run out of quality issues, but you're never going to solve anything if we don't focus the resources on 3 things. That's it.
I am just stuck on the, I think it's the lines. I don't know what I'm missing, because I think is there a default that comes with the program, like prepackaged?
So these tools can be used in any business, even an e-commerce business that doesn't make anything.
And then the departments feed into the quality tool. If I don't do the sub departments, then I'm not getting anywhere, correct?
Yes, so sub departments are, so you like if you, here's some logical sub departments: spraying, scuffing, sanding, and staining in the finishing department, right? They all
Okay.
fall under the finishing department, but these are the individual work cells. Breakout is a department, but you might have a CNC, a chop saw, a gang rep saw, like those are the, a molder. You're going to have all those individual work cells, but they fall under the grouping. And the reason we have the grouping is because that's how the training matrix works, right? So when we look at your training matrix, that's the top level here. Purchasing. Oh, okay. Under purchasing, we have lumber and components. Under finishing, we have spray, scuff, sand, stain. We have the sub departments, so we can easily break things out as far as skill sets go. If you guys are working with any of these tools and you have questions or you're struggling, just use my Calendly link that I've probably sent you many times before. On the landing page, you can do the book a demo. You can use that. That's the Calendly link. You could just text me through WhatsApp, or you can email me. But I want to make sure you're using the tools and getting the value out of them, because I don't even consult with any customers anymore without setting this tool up first. This tool was born out of all the consulting work we've done and what we see missing in most of the companies that we go to, and what will give you the biggest massive productivity gain in the very beginning before we even start doing anything lean. We want to start here. You're going to get massive gains at this point, and then we move forward with lean principles like connecting processes and Kaizen events and all that other stuff. But we want to start measuring first. I keep saying this over and over and over again. Most companies I go to, it's an easy, low estimate to get 1 hour a day back. And if an hour is worth $1,000 for you every day, that's $20,000 a month. It's wild. I don't even consult with any customers anymore without setting this tool up first. This tool was born out of all the consulting work we've done and what we see missing in most of the companies that we go to, and what will give you the biggest massive productivity gain in the very beginning before we even start doing anything lean. If you're not measuring at this level, I can almost guarantee that you're losing an hour a day, at least.
That sounds pretty good. Now with the high, medium, and low, and we're somewhat allowing, oh wait, aren't we allowing the individual user at their work cell to say if it's high, medium, or low?
Yes, and that's why you guys
All
will
right.
have to do some training
All right.
with your guys and say, the team leaders need to be pretty clear on this. when we get this kind of defect and it's going to be this much effort, it's low. But if it's this much effort, it's high. You guys have to figure that out for yourselves. I can't tell you what that criteria is because every company is going to be different. Just giving you the ability to use to select the severity. What was the severity of the impact to you in that work cell is what that means. So if I had downtime, I'm going to rate it as high for sure. If I had no downtime, I might rate it as medium. If it was, 1 knot, I had to fill it. We were pretty clear on our expectations. It shouldn't have got here, but it did. I might rate it as low. But that this is all subjective. So you guys have to figure out what are your quality standards, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in each work cell, and then you're going to have to help people understand. Yeah, that's a medium. You can change it afterwards too. You can change it. You can also change the date. Let's say the guy didn't put any defects in yesterday when he did. You can go in and enter historical defects so that your system is showing you the correct data.
So to start setting this all up, do you have to go into your defects first and then, or where do you start?
Yeah, you have to go into your defects first. Because
Okay.
well, you're gonna create a line, but when you create a line, it's gonna ask you what people and defects belong to that line. So create your defects, go into your line, and assign people and defects to that line. Make one of your lines the control point.
Even though we were up in our final assembly, so I wrote down no staples on back of cabinet, but that the area that I want to put this in is actually the building department, not the final assembly.
Where was it discovered?
Well, it was discovered in final assembly, but the error initially occurred way back in the building department.
Yes, I don't want to report it as happening at the building department. I want to report it as it made its way all the way to final assembly. When you're doing your root cause analysis, that's important to know that it got all the way to final assembly, first of all. And then you're going to say, how did it get this far? And then you're going to as soon as you do your root cause analysis, you're going to go all the way back to where did this start? Why did it happen? You're going to ask your 5 whys. You're going to know what happened in assembly. But it's more important to know where it was discovered and how far down the line it got.
And along the same lines is exactly what you're saying is even though, let's say Danny caught something in finishing and he does have to go back to sanding and say, please sand this. We're really asking the sander, how much time did it waste for you at that point, even though we're going to log the defect as being caught in the finishing room. So there's 2 things going on here.
And it depends on, did it slow finishing down and is finishing your bottleneck? Because if it slowed finishing down and finishing is your bottleneck, I want to know his downtime.
I mean, every single one of these things, even if it's a large percentage of everybody's day. It's the biggest problem that I have is somebody behind somebody else not saying, hey, I'm going to give this next person down the line good quality. I'm going to service them as if they were my client. My product going to them is the most important thing to me, not even before me or after me. What I'm saying is I think I understand that this can straddle 2 departments. One, it's caught where it's caught, and 2, maybe the time involved either rests within the fixing area, whichever department has to fix it, or how much or plus the additional time it took within the department that reported it, if that's slowing them down.
I want to know how it impacted you when you were fixing it, right? So like in the finishing department, I discovered it in the finishing department. It slowed me down by 20 minutes. Then I gave it back to the, I had to do a sort and all that stuff and whatever, maybe I had to change something. And then I gave it back to sanding and said, now you got to rework these. So I'm going to record how it affected me at finishing. Sanding might say, oh man, like we really have to add something to this. So I don't have the ability to go in today and change this original record. Maybe that's something that we have to change. But you could also put that on here. You could make a note on here and say, when you're updating this, when you close it, you can say additional time taken at blah, blah, blah. But for now, I don't have the ability to go back in there and change your original record.
Part of me almost thinks that if, say it hit every department in the shop, just as an example,
Mhm.
why shouldn't every department have its own little thing to where the lumber room has to cut new lumber, and how much time that took from them, and they enter it as an individual defect, and then sanding enters it as an individual defect, and
Well, they are though, right? So let's for fun say that in breakout they get interrupted. The guy at the CNC gets interrupted, and they say, "Hey, I need you to cut like this whole like 10 new doors." He's going to record that as a defect. He just got interrupted. He's been slowed down, and he's going to record that he had to make 10 new doors. I mean, nothing's stopping him from reporting it. Sure, they're not going to be related in the system, but he can still create defects.
well, we go by job number, and maybe I'll ask everybody just, hey, enter the job number that you're referring to in your defects. And then if we ever do come across something like that, we can link it together and say this job
Right.
thing was, I sold it for this, but because of
Yeah.
our defects, we actually
So,
That's a good point. You could put that in the notes for now. And again, the more you guys use this tool, the more we'll understand how do we want to add functionality into it. I always start keeping it super simple in the beginning because I just want you to do it. And then if there's something that's really going to add value to this tool, I mean, we've enhanced all of the other tools greatly. We're enhancing them every month. I want a good portion of the user base to use this and then give me some really good feedback because I'm just designing it for this is the first kick at it. Start using it. Let's see what we need to add to this or change. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I do see the value in some of the things that you've said already, right? Linking it together by a job number. Like that's a really good idea.
could the team leader, once, this mistake has been discovered, go back upstream then and estimate, like, say there's 10 sheet or 10 sheets got to be recut, say, okay, well, that's going to take 2 hours, and add that at the point where it was caught just by estimating.
If it was caught at the bottleneck, if it was caught at your control point, right? In this case, my control point standing in this example. Let's say I got a bunch of defective doors, and we had to kick 10 cabinets out, or they need to recut 10 sheets for doors. If we add 60 minutes of downtime to that, it's going to come up as a control point defect, and it's going to affect your total downtime cost at your control point, and that's not going to be correct. I didn't shut your sanding area down for 60 minutes. I interrupt your CNC for 60 minutes. Your sanding area may only have been down for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I mean, you could, if you wanted to, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, but just be mindful if it's reported at that work cell or original work cell, it's going to look like the downtime was at that original work cell. And again, I want to know what are you going to gain from this? The gain has to be more than whatever level of hassle it's going to be to input this information. In the beginning, I would say keep it simple. Don't go to that level, but put it in your closing remarks on the defect. Suffering, don't forget we interrupted the CNC for an extra 60 minutes. You might put it there so you have it there for later to go back to. Or you could say, guys at the CNC, enter in 60 minutes of downtime at the CNC. It's not going to show up here at your total downtime cost because it's not your bottleneck, but it'll be recorded in the database as 60 minutes down at the CNC because they had to remake parts. That really truly is the thing that they should be doing. But because it's the same defect, we're not linking it together. So I like Tony's idea of, is there some way we can link these together? And I can't tell you the right or wrong thing to do. You guys figure out what's working for you and tell me what you really need. Try it out.
Well,
80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time, this is what happens. Set it up for that, and then deal with your exceptions outside of that and use it for a while. Because with every new system, everyone overcomplicates it. Everybody thinks of all of the wild scenarios that could happen. But in the end, some of the really cool stuff they were asking for, no one ends up using it anyways. That's why I really want you guys to use it. In 3 months, tell me what you really need. Because we're going to enhance it. The question is how. What are the real use case scenarios that are powerful, not the we could do this, so we're going to do it. I want to know. Let's focus on the powerful updates. I know you guys are going to overcomplicate this, just like you're overcomplicating your dashboard when you're setting it up. So I just want you to use it. How do you measure people? You tell me how you're going to measure me. I tell you how I'm going to behave. Right? And if you don't have a standard, then you can't blame anybody for doing anything different. If you don't have a standard, you're asking for variability. If you do have a standard and you don't hold people accountable to it, then that tells me you don't have a standard, really. Those are easy problems to fix, but someone has to own it and be on it and hold people accountable.
So just explain that quote that you just, tell me how you're gonna measure me.
Well, that's from Ellie Goldratt. Have you read The Goal, Bill?
Yep.
It's one of my favorite sayings, because if you don't measure me, you're essentially nagging. Does nagging work?
No,
Anybody?
No.
Right. So that's what this is. So you can tell your production manager, your operations manager all day long, we need to do better. We need to do better. We need to do better. This is your expectation of me as the operations manager at a minimum. This is me being measured every day. You're looking at it going, hey, what's going on? What kind of help do you need? What do we need to do we need another person? Do we need another resource, another skill set? Do we need a machine? What do you need? We need to get above that line consistently. That's measuring accountability. But without that, we're just talking about, accidental good news. If we do a good job and we're like, yeah, we made great, but we don't know how we did it.
yeah,
We're celebrating. We're like, yeah, I just like to say, I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Then we have a really bad month. Then what happens? Can you try harder? Yep, I'll try harder.
Yeah.
The next month, try harder again. Like, that is not a plan. So you tell me how you're going to measure me. If you're measuring me on this target, I will focus here. That's what I mean about I'll tell you how I'm going to behave. If you measure me based on standards, the first time I have a quality issue, I go out on the shop floor. Do we have a standard? Nope. Oh, okay. Well, we were expecting a problem. Let's fix that and create a standard first. That's a minimum we're going to do. We're going to create an SOP now. We're going to train everybody on it. Same defect happens again. I go out there. Do we have a standard? Yes. Did we follow it? No. Oh, okay. I'm going to retrain you on how important standards are. And the last question I'm going to ask you is, are you committed to following the standard? I'm making it very clear. I am measuring you on this. The third time we have a defect, and by the way, you only have two ways to answer that question, yes or no. If you say yes, you're committed and we're going together. If you say no, you're looking for a job, and eventually we hope you find a job. I'm going to help you get a job with my competition at that point. Good people, wrong fit. It's not the people. The company's moving. The company's changing. You're going lean, you're developing standards. The company is changing. It's not that the people are bad. They're just not a good fit anymore if they don't want to go with you. But that's what I mean by I'll tell you how I'll behave. If I say I am focusing on standards, you have no choice but to follow the standard, because I'm measuring you based on that. And if you don't follow the standard, we're not a good fit anymore.
yeah, that's awesome.
Does that help? Like, that's
Yeah,
everything
totally.
in my world is data based and with expectations, with targets and standards. And it's not to punish people. It's actually the opposite. How about the poor guy that's not performing to your expectations, but he has no way of seeing it? And it's just bad news every 3 months when you say, listen, I need you to try it. Yeah, okay. I'm trying the best I can. Most people are. But without the constant feedback on what is the target and how you're doing, if the guy's just not making the target, as a manager, that is my whole purpose. What do you need? How can I help you? Maybe the guy's in the wrong role. I just need to put him in somewhere else in the company where he's going to excel. But that's a management problem. And the manager's measured based on the results. Everybody's being measured all the time. The number one complaint I hear when I'm in the shop at any company, boy, I'd really like if we could just, have some accountability around this place. When you have accountability, the morale gets drastically better. It really does. There's no emotion in this. We're just going back to standards. We're going back to data. We don't have to worry about upsetting people, is what I mean. Celebrate when you're way over the line. Hey guys, did a great job today. It's not just about we didn't make it over the line. How are we going to fix this? It's about, hey, we did a really good job today.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
And here we're measuring the hidden factory. Is the hidden factory affecting my shop? You can't tell me in the shop to meet this target if the hidden factory is not giving me what I need to meet the target. So that's the measure of the hidden factory. Do they have a full buffer and keep it full at all times? Because if they don't, the shop's going to slow down at the rate they're being fed. You're robbing the shop of lead time as well. All kinds of problems. So that first measure is the hidden factory meeting their targets? Okay.
It's fine though to have quality issues and defects in the hidden factory within the dashboard, is it not?
In the quality tool, you mean?
Yeah,
Yes. I want you to
Yeah.
report I want
Yes.
to report your hidden factory defects. Yes.
yes.
I'm just saying, your hidden factory is going to impact your shop. If you have a big buffer in front of your shop, we've taken one problem away. But you're still going to have the
Yeah.
issue of your hidden factory is going to cause quality issues. There's no question.
Yeah.
So we want to capture those. And if you say, let's say I'm going to report a defect, and let's say it's in final assembly. This is the wrong defect because I haven't set one up, but I might say hidden factory, bad design, or bad drawing. You've got the data now. So it was caught at final assembly, but they're saying, hey guys, I think we can do better on this design, or our drawings are not good. So the guy you're setting the guy up for success that's going to solve that issue. You're kind of pointing him in the right direction. Again, just use it, get your dashboard set up, get your quality set up, start using it, and then you can reach out to me if you want to use the support system, create a ticket, as long as you put the word enhancement in the subject line and then describe it here, attachment if you have a picture or something you want to show me, then at least we have it all in one system and I can kind of review the enhancements separately. I don't want to report it as just a regular problem. So if you can submit an enhancement to me like that, you can send me an email, you can WhatsApp me, you can schedule a meeting with me, but I want to let the dust settle on this before we make any changes. Just give people a chance to use it before we make any drastic changes. Because we are working on another enhancement at the moment. Receive downtime text. That's a toggle switch. When this next update goes out, what's going to happen is you're going to go into your dashboard overview, your settings. We have a new field here, downtime tolerance in minutes. This is downtime tolerance at your control point. I've got mine set up for 3 minutes. That's pretty low. Let's make it 15. Let's be reasonable. If I have more than 15 minutes of downtime at my control point, what this means is when I go in here, sorry, employees, if I click receive downtime text, when I exceed that downtime threshold, Jane's going to get a text message. So this is basically another level of on-don at your control point where it says, because the people at the control point are going to tolerate this all day. They're going to tolerate slowdowns. They're going to tolerate downtime. It never seems as bad as it really is because they're working, their heads down in something. They can't see the greater impact. They might notice it on their on-down screen is going to be going red. I get that, but they might be working on a lot of big complex products that take longer as well. So if someone's reporting downtime, a call for help is going to go out to, I don't know, you could set it up for like 3 people. They're all going to get a text message saying that there's your downtime has exceeded your threshold. Only put this in place where you really want someone to act every time. Because if it happens too often, if you have your threshold too low, then that guy's going to start ignoring those messages. So just be careful when you introduce something like that. People get immune to it after a while. So make it reasonable.
Oh, sounds very good.
Any more questions before I let you guys go set up your quality? You also can make a defects inactive. That means they're not going to show up for someone. Now it will show up. So you can make them inactive. You can't delete this data because it'll delete all the associated data with it. So all you can do is make things active and inactive.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you
Yep,
guys.
thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah. Bye.